Hi, my name is Maysa Ahmed and I'm an illustrator and creative graphic designer. Today I'm going to walk you through an advanced illustration process using the Schneider Twinmarkers. If you're interested in further tips and tricks, make sure to check out our website and social media channels. I'm going to start with this paper. It's 180 gram paper that absorbs the markers really well. You'll see this later when I start the coloring. I'm going to make an artwork of a person with some natural elements, so I'm going to draw this shape for the head and plan out my composition. Then I'll make some rough lines showing where the ears, shoulders, and hair will be, along with some other details. Now I'm going to draw some leaves surrounding the figure. After finishing my general outline, I'm going to make some guides of where the shadows will be. You can of course adjust your sketch if needed. Now that my sketch is complete, I'm going to be using a black Pictus pen for outlining. I've chosen to use this pen because I want my outlines to be fine and sharp in comparison to using a marker, which will give the outlines a thicker and softer edge. Now we'll wait 5 minutes for it to dry. Now I'm ready to start coloring. I'm first going to outline the color of the skin, and I'm going to color the blocks comfortably in like so. I'm using the brush in small sections, and this will give a cool textured effect in the end. I'm doing quick strokes that are all mostly in the same direction, and I'm going to go over the same areas again to strengthen the color. I'm doing this intuitively, so wherever I feel needs some extra saturation, either based on the figure's shadow or based on the color distribution, I'll go over it again. Now I'm going to use this orange tone to overlap the skin color. This neutralizes the tone of the pink and gives it more warmth. I'm also doing this intuitively, so I'm just coloring in the patches that I feel need orange. I'm going to alternate between the pink and the orange to fill up any spots that need more attention. For example, here, if I see that the pink is a little washed out and can use more layers. Now I'm going to color in the leaves with these two colors that both have such a beautiful tone, especially this turmeric color that looks like watercolor, and I love how it has this gradient of saturation. I'm going to use this turmeric color on most of one side of the leaf and the moss color on the opposite leaf. And on both ends, I'm switching colors. The reason why I'm doing this is so I can use the blend brush in between to give a cool gradient effect. As you can see, I'm lightly blending the gap together and the colors begin to mix. The blend brush is usually more effective on smaller areas, so if you want to use it on bigger areas, it would make more sense to prime the paper first. Next, I'll be coloring in the stem of the vines. I'm going to be using the brush tip for this as well because the stem sometimes varies in width, and the flexible brush tip is useful in filling in both the large and small spaces. And to finish, I'm using this teal color for some shadows in the stems. Since I've colored in several layers now, I'm going to let it dry for around 3 minutes before I move on to my final finishes. Before we finish, I want to show you some interesting techniques you could use for mixing colors together for your next artworks. So I've prepared a simple illustration of a flower. I'm going to color in the flower with purple and pink. Now I'll take my brush, dip it into the water, and blotch some water onto the color. Before the water dries, I'm going to quickly sprinkle some salt generously onto the water patch, and I'll leave this to dry for 15 minutes. Now that it's dried, I'm going to just rub off the remaining salt to see our final result. The second technique that I'm going to be showing you is the watercolor technique. Apply some marker onto a plate, and with a brush dipped into the water, apply it onto the color and then use it on the paper, like you would with watercolor. The color is much lighter and softer, so if you feel more comfortable using a real brush, you can use this technique for coloring before you get used to the marker brush tips. Now that the colors are dry, I'm using a yellow to add more dimension and depth to the skin tone. The yellow overlaps nicely without being overwhelmingly strong, and at the same time it gives it enough color that it's noticeable, and it meshes nicely into the pink and fills up the underlying white fibers. One of the last exciting steps is to use this purple to create a border between the general skin tone and the shadow line. On these colors, the purple gives a gorgeous and complementary cool tone. I'm going to use this aubergine color around the leaves and vines as well to create more depth. The final step is now to use the black Twinmarker and color in the remaining areas. I'll also run another layer to strengthen and saturate the black. And that's all. Thank you for joining me today in the advanced illustration and coloring process. I hope you've enjoyed your time and learned a few things that you can use for your next artworks. Remember to enjoy your time and always experiment. These are the best markers for both. This concludes our video on illustration techniques with the Twinmarker. If you liked this video, make sure to hit the like button and follow us on YouTube and our social media channels.